Welcome to the Dr. B.R. Ambedkar Open University Distance Program. I am Kedareshwari, a museologist, an art historian, archaeologist speaking to you. An overall view of the heritage structure of the country has enabled me to understand the positive points, the challenges of our great heritage, preserving it, etc. Now, what is a chapter we are going to focus on today? It is museum education in India. When we think of education, we always think of education in schools. The word education brings to our mind schools, colleges, universities, etc. But museum education, what does it bring to our mind? Museum education is about our heritage, tangible heritage and intangible heritage. What exactly do we mean by museum education? In this lesson, we are going to learn about it. Museums have always played a vital role as centers of informal education and lifelong learning. Years ago, Aristotle used art objects as a media for teaching. It is not now, it is not new. Teachers use various media for teaching in schools and colleges, especially corporate schools. Why? Because it helps the students to focus. It makes the lesson interesting. Similarly, in museums, we educate through our collection. How do we educate through our collection? We tell you the history of the object, we tell you the material which we refer to as media in which the object is, we tell you where we found the object, that is called provenance, we tell you to which century the object belongs, etc. So, this what does it help you to understand? It helps you to understand the history of the object, it helps you to understand and see the object as an art piece, it helps you to understand the culture of the country from which it originated or the place from which it originated. So, an object, an antiquity has a huge scope of teaching the public. But how does an antiquity teach the public? How does? It is silent. It teaches the public through the curator who is in charge of the object. It is the curator who has to study the object and inform the visitors the relevant information, just limited, do not make it too much, publish a descriptive catalogue about the object which gives you all the details. But when a visitor comes to see any object or comes to a museum, you just impart knowledge to increase the thirst of the visitor for knowledge. Because if you give him too much of knowledge right in the beginning, he is bound to get stressed. So, make it a pleasant visit. The visitor's visit must be so pleasant, he must take it as a leisurely activity. For example, when we are free, we want to spend a weekend, what do? We either see a film at home on one of the channels or apps, or we go out to see a film on the larger screen, or we go out to eat. But how many of us treat museum visiting as a leisure activity? Generally, when we find somebody weird or something, we say he is a museum piece. Why? Because people have got it into their minds that museum is a place where weird things are kept, where the visit is boring. No. To cut all this, museums have developed a very good display and communication systems using the latest technology through which to educate the visitor. Now, in a school, when you go to school, you are in a particular class 2, 3, there is a syllabus. But is there a syllabus in the museum? No, it is the syllabus is dictated by the interest of the visitor. What is the interest of the visitor? It depends on his background. If it is science, he would wonder what is the kind of lighting, what is the lux, and if it is arts, he would wonder from the other point of view, like where is the object from, what is the name of the object, where has it come from, which period does it belong to, etc. Now, to gel both this, and to give an information which is useful for all visitors and not just for a targeted audience, it becomes a big job for the curator to sit down, research, talk to the relevant people and give the visitor the best experience. A museum may have varied objects. A museum may have just learning objects like the National Council of Science Museums. We have 25 branches around the country. They talk to you about science, various sciences including life science, and they give the scope to the visitor of having an experience of hands on. So, children, especially school going children, enjoy visiting the science museum. If you are ever in Kolkata, go visit the National Council of Science Museums. It has got 1 or 2 beautiful centers there. Experience science with in a stage where you can see things, handle things yourself and understand. Coming back to museums again, museum education policy. The museum education policy both for art museums and science museum differs. The science museum display their object, create an environment and the technology for the visitor to handle the object. Why? It is a modern creation, it is a creation by the museum. But in art museum, we cannot have an hands-on experience, you cannot touch the museum, antiquity, because it is rare, it may be fragile, and if so many people touch it, it may be damaged. So, what happens? So, you have to give a conditioned visit, like the object has to go into a display showcase, the showcase has to be properly illuminated, the literature about the object has to be properly displayed for those who want to read or those who want to use audio guides. It has to be fed into the audio guides with a proper voice. Voice is very important. Why do people prefer Amitabh Bachchan's voice for so many centers, cultural centers? Because it is deep, resonates, it attracts people to hear. The Golconda, we have a light and sound show with Amitabh Bachchan's voice. So, have you seen the Golconda light sound and light show? Please do. Why? It gives you the history and it gives you a 3-dimensional historical background with Amitabh Bachchan's voice in it. Now, coming back to voice rendering, even on the audio, you need to have a good audio in different languages. People come to visit from villages also, that should be comprehensible to them too. To be comprehensible, your language has to be simple, the dialect has to be even more simple, understandable, and it must be multilingual. Even your labels need to be multilingual, but sometimes it becomes overcrowded. So, we generally use Hindi, English and the local language. In some private museums, they adhere to 2 languages. This is just a communication system to educate. Next, what do? We have the kiosks, touch screen system which enables students, adults, everybody to go and have extra information about the object or the galleries. Suppose a visitor is in a hurry and he has to visit the Salarjung Museum. There are more than 45 galleries now. How does a visitor decide? So, we can go to the kiosk, tap, understand what he wants to see and proceed. Another very important thing to educate a visitor to enable his visit to be successful is signage, directional signage. So, he should not get flustered, where is this gallery, where is that gallery? No, your directional signage should be very perfect and pleasant too. The path along which you walk should be pleasant. It should not be that you go through an ordinary corridor with with walls which are not properly painted. No, the walk within from gallery to gallery also should be stress free. This also helps the visitor in relaxing. Then you should have resting place for the visitor. It is not just enough to educate a visitor. The experience which he is expecting, especially from national museums which are very well budgeted, thanks to the Ministry of Culture, Government of India, they need to pay focus to visitor amenities to make his visit pleasant. Next, what is the role of the museum in making their collection and activities all inclusive. Like I said, the information has to be multilingual, it has to be pleasant, you have to open up your museums for the people with special strengths, you have to open up museums for in braille, your languages, when you put up your signages it should be in braille also, and you should reach the maximum kind of people, and no one should be able to say that these museums are for the elite. More recently, some programs are being conducted where the elite are invited. No, it should be open to all. That is when you are successful museologist, when you make your museum all inclusive. When we were examining the phrases of the definition by ICOM about what is a museum, we saw this inclusivity also included. So, that is very important. Then what does a museum do? If you cannot reach me, the museum says I will reach out to you. These are called museum outreach programs. These programs are generally conducted through mobile vans, where the history of the museum, the history of the objects, it can be any exhibition. For example, it may be Janmashtami, where we carry photographs of the little sculptures we have in different media in the mobile van and take it to twin cities in public places or take it to schools. Now, this is called outreach programs. We have carried such programs to the state orphanages, we have carried such programs to public places, we have carried the central government's program of Swachhata to 800 schools in the twin cities. So, it is not just we educate about the objects, we also educate and make people aware of the different policies of the government of India, and then make them aware about our history, about the welfare activities of the central government, etc. This is also a part of our education policy. Now, what are the services we offer? I have already mentioned a few. We have guiding visitor, people appointed to guide visitors through the galleries. More importantly, now we also engage guides certified by the state government to come and help us render this guiding service. Then holding special temporary exhibitions from reserve collections, or in turn museum, state, international exhibitions and exchange programs. What do you mean by temporary exhibitions? Temporary exhibitions are when we decide to celebrate an occasion or to celebrate someone's memory or to celebrate a festival, which I have introduced at the Salarjung Museum as festival exhibitions, where every festival is celebrated through bringing out relevant objects from the storage and being exhibited. So, the visitor is not stopped from seeing the objects in the gallery. He has access to the storage collection also through these temporary exhibitions. In addition to this, we have these exchange exhibitions, where exhibitions are taken from one national museum to another, or when an exhibition is commissioned by the Ministry of Culture, that travels to all the metropolises. So, these are also travelling exhibitions, and then we have the international exhibitions. International exhibitions are as per the cultural exchange policies signed by the Ministry of External Affairs and the Ministry of Culture, together with all other concerned departments, where exhibitions travel either from India to other countries or they come from other countries to our country. Then we have gallery talks. Every gallery, once in a week or twice in a week, we have these gallery talks, where a designated person talks about the collection of a particular gallery to general visitors. It is not on an invite. The talk is given as soon as we find some people visiting a particular gallery, a person goes, talks about the gallery. So, apart from the general labels, apart from the text, apart from the audios available, apart from the kiosk, the gallery talk gives a personal touch to the education policy. So, the visitor, like in banks you see customer is our god or something, similarly the visitor is our pride. The more visitors, that means we are more successful in educating people. These gallery talks are given regularly and in every gallery. Then we have these lectures by outsiders on subjects, themes pertaining to the collection or even beyond, done regularly. Then we have seminars on important topics where international guests are also invited sometimes. We have workshops where we coordinate with the universities, different universities, and we have audience which are, captive audience, as I call it. So they come in for they come in the morning, go leave in the evening. The extra thing we should show is we offer them a tea, snacks, lunch, etc. So as student I always enjoyed all this. So as students they participate wholeheartedly, and the workshop, whichever craftsman comes in, either bidri or other paintings, we pay them honorably, and then we treat them honorably. We respect their art, and that is how these craftsmen and artists working with us always feel important. And we do some hand holding also. By hand holding, whatever they create, we try to market it through our museum shop, or we give them references. So that way our Indian craftsmen and artists are not left behind. It is a way of creating jobs for everyone. We also have these art camps for children, where about 250, 300 children are annually taken on board for almost a fortnight, where they are taught, they are made aware of heritage. We give them classes in painting, we give them classes in metal, we give them classes in embroidery, anything associated with the museum. Then we take them around the museum. This is so personal and so touching that some students whom I have interacted with 20, 25 years ago still remember me, that as a art teacher. They call me the art teacher. So that is how you have to connect. Museums have to feed the curiosity of the visitor. You have to communicate and you have to connect at every level. Don't make museums a place only for elite. No, our country is a huge country. We have a huge rural population. So we must always design our education policies according to the audiences we receive every day. Then while the art camp goes on, we have something for the mothers to keep them occupied. We keep some workshop for the mothers. They participate so enthusiastically. I must tell you all that when art camps take place, someday when I come up with another program, I'll show you the photographs of the children. I'll show you the photographs of the mothers, the parents who are so enthusiastic. In fact, they look forward to. Sometimes on my way home or something, some parent meets me, teacher, art camp fir kab hoga? So that is a kind of environment I have built during my career as educational head in Salarjung Museum. Apart from that, we have the symposium. So we have programs, educational programs for children, for college students, for the researchers, for senior citizens too. We have regular programs. They participate so enthusiastically. These are not well known outside, but I think from this platform, I hope people come to know what kind of activities we have designed for them. In addition, next is print, the print media. We publish catalogs, picture postcards, research bulletins, monographs relevant to the collection. So, a visitor who is in a hurry, he can buy some of this, go back home and go through the print media which we bring out. Then the coordination with universities, colleges and holding special courses on museology. We also have a special course in Salarjung Museum in collaboration with Osmania University, where we run the PG Diploma Museology, where the students who enroll in Osmania University come down to us. It's like from the class to the lab. The laboratory is the Salarjung Museum and the classroom is Osmania University classroom. So, this kind of an experience where you have guided, where you have done hand holding for artists and craftsmen, where you have interacted with children, where you have interacted with housewives, where you have interacted with senior citizens, expose you to the world and how curious and how interesting they find museums. But our country is very vast. These need to be done on a more regular basis to tap more people and to give them an kind of an experience where we have a personal touch. Like I told you, the three key operating words is curiosity, connecting, communicating. Why do people come to museum? They come out of curiosity. Some come to the State Museum in Bagayam, which I was referring to as the Hyderabad Museum, set up by Mir Osman Ali Khan. They come to see the mummy. But there are sculptures which are so famous. Some researchers come to work on them. Then there's a Buddhist gallery where the relic of Buddha is displayed. So on Buddha Purnima and all, you have the various communities coming to pay homage. So they are interacting. So we have found that we can spread the museum culture to communities. Please come, this is your museum. And the Jains come during Mahavira celebrations to the State Museum. I have set up the Jain gallery. They come to pay respects. When they have special gurus and their holy people visiting, they bring them there. So this connection, connecting the community and the museum is a job of the curator. How many curators are doing this? That has to be seen. Next, communicating. How do you communicate? Now we have the websites. We have all our programs on the websites. So they come to know. We have any special exhibitions? There it is on the website. So this communication, and now with artificial intelligence in place, I hope museums do use this also, this method to communicate to people. In Town Hall of Kolkata, we had a science expert who has these various personalities who have played an important role in the freedom struggle and in the Renaissance and Reformation of Bengal. They have their famous dialogues embedded into these statues, and they speak. Rabindranath talks. So, the word which spread was the people in this museum, some people have referred to these statues as people. They talk, let us go and listen, and it is an absolute hit. It is so popular. Similarly, in Victoria Memorial, when people come, they are very fascinated by the Angel of Victory on top. It moves. There are so many stories about our great skill. When Victoria Memorial was built, the dome was ready to take the victory of Angel. The English, the colonial rulers and others were in a meeting discussing how to haul this up, how to use a crane, how do you take this up. Then after some time, they heard this, famous when people, our Indian labor especially, I have got great respect for them. When they are hauling something heavy, they tend to say something which rhymes, haiya, haiya, they keep saying, and they add other words also. By the time their meeting was over, the victory of Angel was on top of the dome, thanks to our Indian labor. So, this is the kind of things which also need to be noted. So, why do they say this? Why do they repeat these words? This is for strength, it is for unity. So, united we can do anything. That is the spirit of India. And then what happens? In Victoria Memorial, we founded the first city gallery, the Calcutta Gallery. That was the first city gallery set up in India, and that was on the occasion of Calcutta Tercentenary, Calcutta completing 3 centuries. We take that date as 1600 when Job Charnock, a trader, arrived at Sutanuti, a village, because Calcutta comprised of 3 villages, and the 3 villages together made up Calcutta. His arrival is taken to be as the beginning of the formation of the city. And it was Professor Narul Hasan, I remember, who came to inaugurate a seminar before that to understand what should be portrayed in the city gallery. And he has made a very famous statement which I carry along, and I quote, that history is like standing on a sea beach, and the waves are the different dynasties and empires which have ruled it. Each dynasty leaves something with it. We must take special note and mention each dynasty and each wave, what it has brought up. I am not quoting it exactly, but it was published. And after that, we had our Human Resource Minister Arjun Singh opening the city gallery. When he opened the city gallery, he was amazed at the way the history the socio-cultural ethos of the city was exhibited in a museum through pictures, through literature. And we had a gallery, within that gallery, a living, absolutely a virtual gallery done in 3 dimension, which was showing the Bada Bazaar of Calcutta, where people were selling their wares, and where a flower vendor also was selling his flowers. They made it such that the smell of the baleful, could also be felt. So, this is the kind of visualization you got to have before commissioning a gallery. For that, you have to be, really good at your research. But nowadays, research is really a bit cloudy. It needs to be again pepped up in museums, and when people enter the Victoria Memorial, there is another painting which is 20 by 10 feet, and that was acquired by Curzon. It was a painting by Vereshchagin, a Russian artist. In 8 parts the painting is, the canvas is in 8 parts. It shows the visit of Prince of Wales to Jaipur. So, you see the this Hawa Mahal behind, and you see the procession in front on an elephant. So, what is this painting also? How do we educate public? Do we just tell them that this is by Vereshchagin, the visit of Prince of Wales to Jaipur? No. We educate them on how to appreciate this art piece, how to appreciate the architecture, how to appreciate the elephants carrying the royalty, how the elephants were also bejeweled, and how people carrying the traditional fans and in their beautiful Indian costumes walk along. And in a corner you have other people standing and staring at awe at this huge procession. So, again one single painting has exposed the entire culture of Jaipur, their costumes, their headgears, their gait, and their Hawa Mahal. So, it is not just about the Prince of Wales visit, it is also about the cultural ethos of Jaipur. Connecting. So, how do museums connect? This is a Durga Puja in Indian Museum. On the right you can see Ma Durga, and you can see public visitors coming and paying their obeisance to the mother. And on the left you can see dhakis, performing art, intangible heritage. Tangible heritage are the drums, and this art is traditional. It's so beautiful, it invokes a spirit of religious fervor. It invokes a spirit of nationalism, that you belong to this state which has this kind of art and craft. And then curiosity and community. Below you can see up above the objects displayed. This was to celebrate the International Museum Week and to show the power of museums. A display, and in the sections below the photographs you can see the public visiting. Look at the throng, they are just rushing to the showcases, they are waiting to see the exhibition, and this is how we connect. The women dhakis, usually drums are played by male dhakis. In fact, they go abroad also during Durga Puja. Other associations welcome them, other homes welcome them, and this is a very important part of the Mothers Festival from Shashti to Vijayadashami. And this is how I end with Ma Durga's celebration, and hope you students have enjoyed this class.